they look nice! Hi, I'm Andrew Armstrong and welcome to the back office. I have a mysterious parcel here from Monster Joysticks. Let's have a look inside. I've already done the tape. Getting professional at undoing the tape now, so we're ready to go in videos, aren't I? So what do you get in the box? Now this is a Monster Joysticks Mini. I did have a previous conversation on this. It's not totally unsurprising to get this. I'll just take out the box, the parts from the box, and you can see what you get. You get the instruction book. Got looks like a bit of laser cut perspex. More laser cut panels. Ooh, fantastic! A nice extension wire for plugging that into your computer, and that's got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9-pin D-sub connector. Fix-ins, a whole load of fix-ins. Oh, filthy hand. That's not the Monster Joysticks, by the way. That was some greasy stuff I was touching earlier. Some interconnecting cables, probably from the joystick to the PCB. And this is an adapter of sorts. We'll have a look at that. Another adapter of sorts. And I think this is the PCB that goes on the actual joystick itself. Fittings. Genuine Sanwa compatible parts. And a joystick. Groovy. So I'm going to put the empty box down. Let's have a look through here. We'll just unwrap all the items and just see what we've got. Now the whole point of Monster Joysticks is it's pretty much, I'm going to say analog, but I don't mean analog in that it's analog as in rheostats. I mean analog as in it's not USB. So it's a traditional joystick for use for traditional systems. So if you want to use one on your PC, you probably want to get a USB adapter. Look at these. These are magnificent, aren't they? Nice. And that's a nice old knob there. We can see we've gone in the old back office blue there. It's very suitable colours. So that's your cable, and these were the various adapter boards. Now I should flick through the instructions, and I may well just do that, but this is the main board providing the I/O to the joystick. So that's what goes on that wire, I'm guessing. Yes, indeed. And if I'm not mistaken, that will be your standard Atari compatible cable that should be able to fit into most of your old school machines. And we're going to have a look in the book to see which ones are covered. But I'm guessing it's going to be Atari ST, MSX, Commodore 64, probably the Spectrum, probably the Amstrad. I know the Spectrum, the Amstrad, one of them had something slightly different. And this looks like an adapter for a BBC Micro. That's definitely the connector a BBC Micro uses, and you get 2 ports for that. I do remember the old BBC Micro joysticks did have the splitter, so that's probably what that is. And I believe this is an adapter. I think this was mentioned as for the MSX. Let me have a look, see if it says anything on it. It says MDMS. Oh, Mega Drive Master System to MSX X68K. So that's really interesting. I'm just looking at the pins to see really what's changed. We'd have to go into some detail to see that, but great, as long as that works. So I onward and upwards with the construction. So it says basically get that part, attach your interface kit, and then you start building the box around it, really. So let's have a look at this. Now you should really read the instructions in some detail, unlike me, because the problem with these sorts of laser cut kits, and it's not really a problem, it's just due to their nature, is you can come a cropper because some things look the same both way around, but they're not. So depending on how it's cut, I shall give you an example if this one may be. So that's looking pretty evenly cut, but sometimes you see, like here, it's got big obvious holes, but sometimes they have these interlocking panels where one will be slightly different if it's on the left or the right. So if you build everything up on the wrong side, you'll have a problem. Look at that, that's definitely laser cut. You can see it's laser cut perspex. Not sure on the colour, we won't know till we take the coverings off, but look, it's clear. It does seem to have 2 layers though. Is that paper layer and... That's interesting, isn't it? So there's a protective layer and a kind of a paper layer. So I guess the paper layer is definitely on there because of the old laser needs that, but we're going to take off both anyway. So you're going to spend all of your time, a fair bit of your time removing this. Again, you can read the instructions to check if it's something you want to remove before or after installation of certain components. But it just goes to show you it's a genuine part running through a laser cutter there. So rather than watch me sitting here and pulling off all of these labels, I shall do an amazing jump cut, and hopefully you can see what results. Right, I've removed all of the wrappings. So there's a shiny side and a dull side, so I'm going to assume it's shiny side out, and I'm assuming again this is the fitting kit for that little interface board. So I'm going to pop this out. It's actually got the feet on it, and I think because of the nature of the shiny side you want to put the feet on first if you can. Depending on the sort of surface you're working on, of course, you might be making this on a towel or something, whereas I'm making it on my back office board, which might contain scritchy things, as in legs of components. So I'm just popping it in every corner here, not measuring this, but if you're that way inclined you could probably get a ruler out, make sure your feet are all adequately equidistantly spaced. So that's in there. So that is the interface board. Let's see how this goes. So we've got these various nuts. So let's count them. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and there's 12 nuts. So I'm going to assume it's using them as spacers. So let's get in there. So it's basically a standoff. It's using the nuts as a standoff, and I think, judging by how many we counted, we've got to put 2 on each. God, plastic nuts and coal fingers. Plastic nuts and cold fingers does not an enjoyable night make. Right, get that on there. So basically all your wires are going straight from your switches to here. It's a nice simple setup, because if you look at the old diagrams of the joysticks and whatnot, there wasn't too many differences between them. It was really whether or not they had additional fire buttons. In the case of, I think, the Mega Drive, it had a multiplexer. So I do recall I was trying to hack a Mega Drive control pad, and there was some sort of multiplexing issue, probably to do with the fire buttons. But it's a long time ago now, and who cares? There is a switch though on this. I wonder what that switch does. It's fascinating. I'm looking just there. There's a little switch on that interface board. No doubt some sort of mode switch, but we'll cover that. So a lot of kits that have laser cut cases use this technology, and even some 3D printers where everything's cut out of wood or metal or plastic, and you're using the nuts and bolts like little anchors that just hold everything together, and this is no different, but it's quite a good way of doing it really. The only thing that could be a little tedious with it is a bit like Meccano, so you've got to take your time. Got that in there. Yeah, that's looking mighty fine. This is when I read the instruction I've done it wrong, and you shouldn't have used those nuts there, and now you got to unscrew everything. And when I say read the instructions, I meant just literally glanced at them. I don't know, I'm not really the one for the manuals. I kind of feel the manuals are there to sort of refer to when you've sort of given up. Right, we're almost there. So I'm going to use something to spin these nuts on. So that they're beyond finger tight. I mean, they don't probably need to be that tight. I don't know how much abuse you give your joysticks really. I should think if you're giving your joysticks enough abuse to loosen an interface, you probably want to calm down a bit. Right, so we got that now. Side panels, methinks. So we know that, so you can see there's a cutaway here, and are they both identical? they are identical, so shiny side out, and we're going to put them on something like that. And now you can see there's a gap, like a rebate. We'll cover that right now. So I'm going to pull out the extra hardware, chuck that into a little pile. There's quite good tolerances on this thing. These parts are fitting together, you know, nice and tight. There's not really any slack. This does seem to be different size fittings, so be careful, but not too many of them. So that's good. You've got 4 big nuts. I'm guessing that's for the top. Keep that sexy, sexy top on. Ah, or I know what the big nuts are for. They're probably for keeping the joystick in. So what you've got to do, you're going to have to poke this screw through, and then on the inside, a bit like a piece of IKEA furniture or something, you've got to put your nut on the other part. So you'll see there, so the screw's going through there, and then you're going to put that nut in. And you're going to need a bit of dexterity here, because you want to, you can see already, you want to hold that in. Nice. And that will be retained once it's oriented right. It will slip, slop, slop, slip, slop, slot in there. So let's try again, shall we? Crikey, it's being awkward, but it will do it. It will do it for sure. Now that's a lot tighter tolerances than a lot of the Far East kits I've had, so that's a good thing, by the way. I mean, it might be a little bit fiddly to put together, but it's definitely not going to go anywhere once you have. And then you get your regular screwdriver, tighten that up. Yeah, there's some good crank on there as well. I got some good torque on that, so that's one side. Let's see if we can increase the speed of production now on the second side. It would be embarrassing to not do that. I suppose if you're really keen, you could put a tiny dab of glue and you could actually glue the hardware in place. I mean, I don't know if it's really worth your while, but you certainly could. I mean, let's be fair, if you have got issues with your fingers, you know, like you've got shaky hands or any other medical term, clearly I'm using medical term there, that could certainly be of help to you. Right, so let's see, we've got a back panel here, which is a slightly different design because it's got the cutaway. And we've got a front panel there, but it's all rinse and repeat, fortunately. So let's have a look at this back panel now, because this is one where we have less control now. We can't get to the other side. So I'm going to put it face up or face down. I'm going to slot this in from the top. Come on now. So I'm at the scenario where the nut is actually twisted. So I'll just show you, because it does seem to did happen while I was messing earlier. If the camera will oblige. So you can see the nut is twisted now, so that's not good. It means the nut's not actually in the hole. So don't over crank that, because that's probably going to break something. But there you go. It's a slight adjustment, and you saw it drop straight in there. I'm going to tighten that up. Nice, look at that. Look at that. You can actually tighten it to the point where you're actually bending it in a bit. Try not to do that. And then the front. So I'm quite fascinated now with all of this. How do you actually end up getting everything else in? How do you get all your joystick parts in? That last nut in. Whoa, that one went in straight. Maybe just get good at it. Maybe you can become a Monster Joysticks assembler. It's a nice simple construction. You can figure it out. If you wanted to, you could probably apply some glue to all of these and you'll make it all super rigid. I would advise you probably put it together once first before you do that. Right, so that's your box. Let's get the joystick out. Ah. Be slightly careful. This is a heavy old thing. I don't know which way round if it matters on joysticks, but this is interesting. You see this plastic thing here? Apparently this is what controls your up, down, left, right on certain games. You know, like some games don't have diagonals. It's all to do with this and how it's shaped. And I don't know if this is one of those ones which is reversible. It doesn't look like it, but I think some allow you to actually adjust it. You can twist. Oh, is there anything in here? Actually, that thing. This does feel like it's adjustable. Let's explore that before we just pop this in, because it would be a shame not to. So certain games you don't want a diagonal. And other games you do want a diagonal, but they're fitted with non-diagonally joysticks, and whatever the reason. And then that means, like in Street Fight, you can't get out some moves. So there's this thing has a ring in here. So if you look that, you can pop this ring out. I think, yeah, you can. You can lift it up. Look, there you go, and crank that round. I don't know if you actually have to take it off or not, but you can see now that diamond pattern's turned around, and yeah, there's only up, down, left, right. Ooh, that's fascinating. Right, let's see if we can do it without... It was about this time my camera decided to stop working and lost 10 minutes of build. However, it must be said that the instructions provided by Monster Joysticks are excellent, and you'll have no trouble in the final hookup of the electrical connections from the interface board to the joystick and the buttons. So we'll continue with the video, and hopefully you won't hold it against me that I didn't show you that little bit of detail. I've hooked up the Monster Joysticks Mini to the BBC Micro using the supplied interface plugged in on this left hand side. This is the first time I'll have played Arcadians ever using a joystick. I think, let's see, hopefully it is joystick compatible. It says 1 selects 1 player game, 2 selects 2 player game, and fire to the joystick menu. To the joystick menu. Wow, what a fancy joystick menu. I think we'll go for the 1 player game, and I'm going to hit the... Very nice. Looks like we won't need to play this one so much because we got this one. Now I appreciate that I'm playing it one-handed, but actually it's pretty damn good. It's definitely got that arcade experience on it. I'm really quite pleased actually to... Oh, let's turn off that noise. To be able to play with a joystick. And I think it compares quite favourably to the... I think this one might be a Sanwa. I can never remember really, but... Yeah, very nice. Very nice motion actually. And very nice finish. Because it's like a mirror finish. Hello! So my kids will be home in a while, and then they can sort of put it through its paces, but I shall be playing with the Monster Joysticks a lot more today. I feel we've not done the job properly till we try the whole panel thing, so I've decided while the tools are out, it has to be done. So I'm going to be a bit ginger with this because we have those screws floating around. Off. Ooh, quite firm there. Managing to retrieve all of our nuts. Right, so I think the secret to this is to cut it out nicely, and that probably involves going online and getting a nice template from the Monster Joysticks website. However, I'm very lazy and I'm not going to be doing that. I'm just going to cut around this with a knife. So I'm not sure how this will look. I think it would be quite nice at a kind of a jaunty angle. And if depending on how squeamish you are, you may or may not want to use a cutting board rather than your nice board here. So in fact, I do have a more suitable surface, which I shall use because I don't think I can face doing that. I'm going to have that at an angle. Let's try it, shall we? Go careful. Do not want to be cutting yourself. Always move the knife away from your body if you can. And most of the times you certainly can. So I didn't get a very good cut there. Ooh. Ah, pretty good. Look at that. So how do we do the circulars? That's a problem. And do we need to? I think we do need to, otherwise it's going to bunch up or cause an issue for us later. So I suppose you could probably do this with a scissors. It depends on the kind of finish you're going for, really, how nice you're looking to achieve. In fact, thinking about this, the holes, you don't have to be too neat because there is a bezel on the buttons and you do have a big dust cap on the joystick part, so it's probably okay. Like that one I did with little care, so we can see how that fares. Oops. And we'll want to do this last one here. That's good. And then everywhere you've got these little areas here, I'm going to just put a cross. X marks the spot. That's going to be my technique, is to do an X marks the spot. Each one of those. And then the small holes, I think I'm just going to do a little point. Okay, so that's going to be the way I'm going to approach that. Let's get rid of our chopping board. Our sacrificial board. It sounds a bit sort of medieval, doesn't it, having a sacrificial board. So what's nice now, at least taking the connector off the back of the joystick is pretty good. And those nuts that we cranked on ever so tightly. So this should be a video on how to disassemble your monster joystick. Scared the life out of me, that thing. Hello and welcome to the back office. Let's pop that through, pop that through. Come on now, come on now. That's your monster joystick. There is our template. Ooh, I have to say it's quite exciting. It looks a bit like a back office bottom, doesn't it, at the minute? It looks like a rear, somebody's rear. So I've just got to peel the old protective membrane off it. Doesn't seem to have that smoky laser cutness of the other part, does it? Piece off. Going to go for the other edge. So it's going to show you that it's actually got that double layer. So it's interesting. They look like they've got a laser cutting layer and then a regular kind of protection layer on there. So it's looking a little bit rough. I don't know. There's another layer on that needs to come off on mine. There is another layer, so make sure you find it, otherwise you're going to have it's slightly, just doesn't look right, doesn't look shiny and polished like I'd have expected it. There we go. Wow, it's like glass now. Don't get any fingerprints on it. Worth persevering with that. Look for that extra bit of layer on there. Wowee, that did work. So if it's not glass-like and shiny, keep going. Crikey O'Reilly! I'm going to put my finger buttons in because I think they're going to lock it down better. Oh, what? Hang on. Have I done a bad thing? Oh yeah, look, there's a whole lot of dust on here. Just gonna attempt to brush it off. Might want to do it in a dust-free environment, so get into the bathroom and put your shower on or something. Still, it's probably not a big deal. That worked well. I think I've still got it more or less lined up. So there's the old buttons. So once we get the coach bolts in, we'll be happy, won't we? Because those are the worst. And they've gone in all right. Look at that. I will say this is looking good. Monster Joysticks know what they're doing, no doubt about it. That is looking absolutely fantastic. So we're going to use the magic of a jump cut, I think, for me to do the final reassembly back in the box, but I think I can't wait. I need to see what it looks like with that knob on, albeit loosely. It's gonna look nice! And there you have it, the final build of our Monster Joystick Mini. And it's looking absolutely superb. I think in its back office design, you know, it looks absolutely fantastic. It looked great before in the plain black, but now it's just that next level for me, and it goes really well with the blue controls. And I do really like this design with the acrylic cover, the thin acrylic cover, or polycarb, whatever it's made of, but it really protects that artwork from getting duffed up, and you can print your own artwork. So if you've got your favourite arcade game, I imagine you're going to go nuts and really get some nice designs on there, much better than any sort of sticker or anything like that. I really look forward to putting it through its paces now, and I'm going to go play some more Arcadians on the BBC Micro. But do check out Monster Joysticks. Go check out their website. Hoping the website's written here, but if not, just Google Monster Joysticks. There can't be too many Monster Joysticks there. And look out the mini Monster Joystick, or Monster Joystick Mini. And it does say in here there is a full compatibility list, so you'll know what you need to buy and what adapters and whatnot to get it to work. So do check them out. Thanks to Monster Joystick ever so much for sending me this. One of the more useful things I've received in recent times. So thank you so much, everybody. Go and have a look. As ever, thanks for watching.